Hello and welcome to the lab. Today we are going to install the AVAYA Communication Manager Simplex virtual machine into VMware. Here we are logged into the VMware vSphere client. This is our host server where we will deploy the Communication Manager virtual machine. To begin, let's click on File, Deploy OVF Template. At the Deploy OVF Template Source dialog window, we'll click the Browse button to locate our CM Simplex OVA file. Now that we have the CM file location, we'll click on the Next button. At the OVF Template Details page, we'll take a moment to review the template details to make sure we're deploying a CM Simplex server onto VMware and that we have the latest OVF version. Let's click on the Next button. At the End User License Agreement dialog box, we'll review the End User License Agreement and click the Accept and Next buttons. At the Name and Locations dialog window, we'll use the default name of Communication Manager and select the location where we want to deploy this virtual machine. And we'll click on the Next button. At the Disk Format dialog box, we'll take the default setting of Thick, Provision, Lazy Zeroed, and click on the Next button. At the Network Mapping dialog window, we'll select the desired destination network for this virtual machine. As this is a CM Simplex deployment, we only have one network interface to define. At Destination Network, select your destination network and click on the Next button. Okay, this is our last chance to review the configuration before we start the deployment of our CM Simplex virtual machine onto VMware. Everything looks good, so we'll click on the Finish button. In our lab, the deployment of the CM Simplex template took about 10 minutes to deploy. However, we've increased the playback speed of the demonstration to save you some time. At the Deployment Completed Successfully dialog box, we'll click on the Close button. Here's our virtual machine on our host. Let's select the CM virtual machine and do a right-click to open the console. At the console window, we'll click on the Power On button and start the virtual machine. This is a good time to watch the boot up process to make sure we didn't receive any boot up errors. The CM takes a couple of minutes to boot up. Okay, here we are at the CM server's login prompt. We'll hit Enter to make sure we get a response. Next, we'll log in with our Craft credentials. At the terminal type prompt, we'll enter VT100. At the Suppress Alarm Origination prompt, we'll enter Y. Next, we're prompted for the network setup on our CM server. At the IPv4 IP address, we'll enter the CM server's IP address. At subnet mask, we'll enter our network's subnet mask. At Default Gateway, we'll enter our network's default gateway IP address. At the Are These Correct prompt, we'll enter Y. And lastly, to make sure our values were successfully applied, we'll enter ifconfig to see our CM server's network settings. Good. These settings are applied to the server. There's nothing more to do here, so let's exit from the server. Now that our server is up and running, we want to make sure our server will automatically start back up if and when our host server were to go down. To do this, we'll select the host server. Then we'll click on the Configuration tab. At the Software section, we'll select Virtual Machine Startup and Shutdown and click on Properties. At the Virtual Machine Startup and Shutdown dialog box, we'll locate and click our communication server from within the Startup Order window. We'll use the Move Up button to move our CM from manual startup to automatic startup. Now that it is in the automatic startup list, we'll click on the OK button. Okay, now it is time to log on to our Communication Manager System Management Interface page. We'll open up our browser and enter our CM server's IP address into the URL field. At the Before You Begin banner page, we'll click on Continue. At the Login page, we'll enter our craft credentials to log on. At the Craft Logon page, we'll click the Yes button to suppress alarm origination. At the Message page, we'll click on the Continue button. Okay, there you have it. We've successfully deployed the AVAYA Aura Communication Manager Simplex virtual machine into VMware. The next step is to continue the CM post-installation activities described in the next lab. This concludes this lab, and we'll see you later.